Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Abby the Food Scientist. I'm Abby, and today I'm very excited. We have a special guest, Jill Stuber. Hi Jill.
Hi, Abby. Thanks for having me on today.
No, I'm very excited. So Jill, you are a food safety coach and a self-declared food safety nerd. And I'm so excited you're here because I don't talk a lot about food safety because it's a bit far away from my expertise. So thank you for giving us your time.
Oh, I'm glad to be here, and I'm always happy to talk about food safety.
Yes, wonderful. So I actually reached out because I had a student email me about food safety careers, and I thought, oh, I do not know these answers, but I will find someone that can talk about food safety careers. So I wanted to start. Could you tell us just how you first got into food safety or your background?
Sure. It's actually quite simple. I was an undergrad at University of Wisconsin, River Falls. And originally I started off as a dairy science major, but then I saw everybody there seemed to be in dairy science as well. And I switched to broad area agriculture, and I needed an elective course. So I think I was a junior when I actually took my first food science 101 class, and I was hooked. Like, I actually switched majors right away and like crammed everything in because at that moment, I knew food science was my path.
Right. Oh my goodness. So did you get your bachelor's degree, and what was the next step after that?
So I did get my bachelor's at River Falls in food science technology. And then I actually went and worked for a few years. And after that, I actually had always thought about like going back for a master's, but I didn't know what it all meant, where I should do it. And really, when I had started working, it was at Land O'Lakes,
Oh yeah.
their corporate headquarters up by Arden Hills. And I had started making media in the micro lab. And after doing that for a little bit, I got promoted to run the routine micro testing. But after pouring plates and plating just all day long, I was like, I can't do this forever. And so I started looking at grad school. And so even though I took a couple classes up at U of M, I really thought what I wanted to do was move back to Wisconsin. So I took a job where I got to some food manufacturing experience because that was something that I just hadn't done. And then after a while, then I applied to go back to grad school at Madison and kind of dove right in.
And so would you say you almost sort of stumbled into food safety? Because it sounds like your first job where you were pouring the plates, like it was just the responsibilities.
Very much so. I would say I stumbled in. When I was at River Falls, I had a work study job working in the food micro lab. And I liked it, but I never really thought like, gosh, that'll be my career.
Right.
And then even when I had done internships, they were, kind of in quality, but it still didn't make me go, wow, I'm doing food safety. And then even as I was finishing my undergrad, I worked part-time for a confectionery company in the R&D department.
Yeah.
So food safety, I did kind of stumble upon because I really liked the aspect of like problem solving and just thinking about food safety and helping people. But yeah, definitely was a stumble upon.
Yes. Yeah. That's how many good things have happened to me as well. So that's why I asked that. Yes. And by the time you were applying for your master's degree, did you have in mind you wanted to do food safety, or was that just the master's degree program that was open?
At that point, I think because of the influence that I had when I was working at Land O'Lakes, that I really had thought that this would be the area for me. Even when I was in manufacturing, it was in the quality department. So I was still doing those aspects that are traditionally related to kind of like food safety quality. And so when I did apply, part of it was I had gotten a fellowship, and that was partly in, with food safety. And so I was really fortunate to just kind of all the things seemed to line up to go this way.
Yes.
So.
No, I agree. It's like once the ball started rolling, everything sort of kept escalating to a career in food safety almost.
It did. And, there were points where I had tried So for example, even at Land O'Lakes, they had a role that opened up to help do nutrition labeling and kind of customer service for the lab. And I was like, sure, why not do that? I have a food science
Mhm.
degree. And I did it, and I learned a ton, but I also was like, this doesn't like, I don't love it. It's
Right.
good, but it wasn't the love that I had like when I was doing some of the work back in the micro lab.
Yes. And I think I always tell my students sometimes for internships, which are only 3 months usually, if you get an internship offer, say it's in manufacturing, and you thought maybe I don't want to do manufacturing, it's 3 months. Go see if you like it. The
Jump in.
Right. At least you learn, I don't want to do this the rest of my life. Like that's a great way to learn what you like and what you dislike is just go do it for a while.
Yeah, and the best part is you get to have, even if it's a short period of time, even if it's a job that you don't love,
Mhm.
but you get some experience there, that will carry you on, and you'll be amazed at where you'll be like, you know what, I actually know a little bit about this.
Yes, no, I 100% agree. So once you got your master's degree, you're sort of more specialized in food safety. At that point, did you go back into the food industry?
Well, I did. At first, I actually worked on campus as a research assistant.
Okay.
My professor had a grant, so I was actually working with composting manure and how long that you needed to compost and how long until you could harvest harvest vegetables.
Okay.
So that was kind of the big push then. But the meat extension professor at the time also had a ton of grants. So I was kind of like working for
Yeah.
both of
Yeah.
them,
Okay.
which really was great because it gave me some breathing room so that I could really understand where I wanted to go. And I had different interviews with companies,
Okay.
but it wasn't really until Golden Plump, the poultry manufacturer up here in Minnesota, came across that I knew it was perfect. I had grown up on a farm and I loved the vertical integration aspect of being able to work not only on the production side, but the live side.
I
And
see.
so that was really exciting for me.
And do you remember maybe what that role was that you first got when you went there?
Yeah, I was a lab manager.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So, right, I kind of had always had this lab experience, and they needed a lab manager who, once again, knew like could help the farm side, but also help production. And so that was kind of a good fit and really a launching pad for like the other parts that I learned and worked in.
Yes. Yeah. I think that is really cool. You are one of the people that I see always posting about food safety because I find that product development tends to attract a lot of students and people are very passionate about it. But
Yeah.
I don't always see that about food safety. So, what to you is like fulfilling about these roles?
Oh gosh. I think a lot of it is it's problem solving. This is the nerd part of me.
Mhm.
The food science really was the background that I think is really important because, right, even though I don't do R&D, I know enough of the basics of how some of these systems interact and understanding packaging interaction and manufacturing and then the engineering side. So in food science that, I love the challenges in being able to tap into each of those because food safety really is comprised of people who have all different disciplines. So you might have someone who has like general biology. They've never been exposed to the food like interaction side. Or you may have an engineer who's never had any food side. And so like there's always these puzzles to put together. And so I love that and doing the mysteries, but then it was really like I like the people in food, you know, whether it's everybody, whether it's frontline team members, whether it's corporate people. I just love hearing their stories and the experiences that they bring, and that's really what kept me there. And then as I developed and matured as a leader and became a more confident leader, that's when I really stepped into, I really do love leading people and teams so they can really, I want them to love what they do too when they're working in food.
Yes, no, I love that because I am all about puzzles as well. So I'm like, oh, that sounds really interesting. Like, it's kind of like a mystery you have to often piece together.
Yeah, yep. You're going from supply chain to like maintenance over to like all these different parts sometimes we're tapping into to figure out like what's going on here.
Mhm. No, that sounds obviously like a very amazing and rewarding job, and also rewarding because you're keeping people safe, like your family, your friends, everyone, which is a huge, is greatly important for the food supply.
Yes, very much.
And I know now you have sort of you're more of a consultant role at this point.
Mhm.
Did you do you first, start in the industry and you gained enough experience to become a consultant, or how did that come about?
I would like to say it was part of COVID,
Oh,
in part, but really it kind of, the seed was planted even back when I was at Golden Plump,
okay.
because as shared, I started as a lab manager. But even as I was there, I started kind of working in other areas because it was right when SQF was coming out.
Oh,
And Land O'Lakes had been ISO since I had started. So I had always worked in quality management systems. And
okay.
so I kind of started working more outside the lab to help support some of these other areas. And after a few years, I got promoted to manage our food safety quality teams across the facilities. But that's when I quickly was like, I learned I needed to be a better leader.
Oh,
that that being a good leader in food safety, or even in, from a technical standpoint, right? We lead with data and
mhm.
science, and that's awesome, but not everybody does, especially when you're leading a team. You really need to have that people side. And those were things that, right, I wasn't taught in school. I didn't pick them up when I was in clubs. Like I was always in like 4-H and Junior Holstein Association and different clubs. And I didn't work with enough people where I really recalled having some great leader that really helped me learn that. And so when I was in this role managing across facilities, I needed to step up my game. And so I started working with a coach, and I did a ton of learning, which led me to become a certified professional coach. And that was really kind of cool, because then as I was in different roles in small facilities and in sales, I got to use that. But I also got to see when I was in sales that there were a lot of other people in food safety or working in facilities that were kind of stressed or struggling and burnt out. And I kept saying, gosh, I hope somebody would do something about this. Or, when things change, then, it will be better for people. And I had that moment where I was like, I think that needs to be me. Like,
Yes.
I know the technical side and I know this coaching side and how powerful it is because I personally have done it. Like, I need to figure out how to offer that.
Wow.
And so that's when the company I had founded was the Food Safety Coach. And that was really to help support technical leadership development. And then at the end of last year, Tia Glaive, my business partner, and I formed our partnership at Catalyst. So we could really expand what we were doing, and then make it a multi-stage program, but also include a lot more strategic planning and support more people in this area.
That is amazing. I love how you're like, there's this gap, like something isn't right here. But I'm sure it took a while for you to be like, I think I'm the person, like,
Oh, it took years. I even had a friend who was like, you've been talking about this. I need a date for when
yeah,
you're going to actually do the next step. And I was like, okay. And
right,
so it kind of started slow, but then during COVID, I was kind of a fractional food safety quality director, and my kids were home. And, I was part of the group that sat back and went, where should I really focus right now? And what does it look like? And, I'm really fortunate. My family, my husband said, if not now, when?
right, right.
So that's when I jumped in.
That's funny because that's also how I sort of started this YouTube channel. Is I discovered food science like randomly, like absolutely just was perusing the internet trying to figure out what I should do with my life. And then, like 10 years later, I have all my degrees in food science, a PhD in food science. Like most of
All
my
in.
friends are food scientists. And you look back and you think that was random chance. That's crazy. Why does no one know about food science?
Yes.
But like I never thought, like, it wasn't like, yeah, no one knows about it. That's a problem. But I didn't think like I'm the one who should talk about it. Like that took a lot of convincing and a lot of time for me to be like, why don't I just start a YouTube channel and see, like, you know.
And look at all the information that you've put out there and all the people that you've been able to like help influence, guide, fill in gaps where they had questions too. That's amazing.
Yeah, no, it feels amazing. Like students email me and it's like, I can answer this question in like a minute, but there's no resources out there to help anyone. Like, you know, it's if you're on the outside of the food industry, it's very hard to find information about it.
That's true. And it's often so kind of generalized under food and usually more related to like food restaurants or food service.
Mhm.
So it's really hard to kind of get the details of
Yes.
what do we actually do when you're in food science or food safety.
Right. Because I remember when I first found the food science major, I was like, this has got to be made up. This seems unreal. Like food and science, this can't like lead to a real job. But like I had to do more research and it like all my friends have found jobs very easily. So it's yeah, it's hard, but it's very fun to help people.
It is very much so. Yeah.
Yes. And actually, your answer reminded me another question I need to ask because this is why I originally emailed you. And I had a student reach out and she was asking me, you know, do I need to get these, be like HACCP certified or SQF certified as like a student before I get a job? Or will my job pay for this? And this was like, I have no idea. So I was wondering if you could talk about these certifications a bit.
Absolutely. You know, as a student, I would say none of these are required for you to be able to secure a role in food safety. Um, right now, we have more roles open than we have people to fill. So don't let that stop you. If you are thinking, gosh, I don't have that, that's
Mhm.
okay. If you have the opportunity, like HACCP is fantastic because that is one that is really the foundation of risk assessments that you're going to do pretty much every day. You
Mhm.
won't always do a HACCP risk assessment, but you'll probably be doing some type of risk assessment. PCQI is fantastic. That's the one for FDA and with BISMA. It's very similar to HACCP, but it's grounded in the preventive controls that FDA has. And so it's slightly different, but you'll feel that everything is very similar. Another one that I think is really helpful is SQF practitioner or a GFSI. That's the Global Food Safety Initiative equivalent, because that one elevates to helping incorporate some of the other quality management systems and programs that are helpful to support food safety. Um, but you know, as you think about these different things, really, I think the bottom line is that you know, if a company is hiring for these roles, they should be sponsoring you to develop your technical skills. So that is something that when you go in, that's just disclose, you know, I would say share that and ask about like how do they help so that you can continue to develop those skills and add those things in. Because that's really important.
Yeah, I think that's excellent advice. And I think when I was in school, the only offer we had was to learn HACCP, and that was like once every 2 years. Otherwise, you know, it's like quite expensive as a student, and you are, you know, obviously in all your classes. So I think that is very helpful advice.
Yes. So I wouldn't, yeah, I wouldn't let that, don't let that be a showstopper.
Right, right. No, awesome. And Jill, I have one last question for you that I like to ask everyone. Do you have one piece of advice for current food science students or something you wish you had known when you were a student?
You know, I think this relates back to a little bit what we talked about earlier, like be curious, keep exploring and trying new things because maybe food safety isn't your thing. Maybe it's R&D, maybe it's supply chain, maybe there's a whole other area, maybe it's marketing, maybe it's something in technology. Like keep trying new things because they all have different things to explore, and each of us, we, you know, you have gifts and the things that you offer are the only things that you can offer, so lean into those things and know that those are really important for us to really be able to have the whole industry like get to the next level.
Yeah, I love that advice. Be curious. That's what I learned in grad school. You're only going to learn more the more curious you are. Absolutely. Yes. Jill, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for answering my cold email for this
Oh
interview.
my
I
gosh.
appreciate that.
Oh, it has been really, it's been such a pleasure and so much fun to meet you, Abby, and to be part of this. So thank you for including me.
No, absolutely. It's been so nice getting to know you. But I will talk to you hopefully sometime soon.
Sounds good.
Bye.